Okay, we're gonna roll because we have a really full meeting tonight, and I really don't want to short our speakers that are at the end of the meeting. I'm responsible for the first two team reports. I'm going to try to keep it really short. Please feel free to have your cameras on this meeting. People really like seeing people's faces, and so we're going to go with the faces. Just stay muted, please. So we're not hearing your dog barking in the background and your air conditioner coming on. So in terms of leadership, the one thing we're going to share is our website, which we hope you're all visiting frequently. Do we have a picture of the website we can show, John? Oh, yay. I knew I could count on John. So Nancy has prepared this absolutely amazing website. And the one thing we really want to encourage everybody to do is you see the button up at the top that says somethings. We are already well over 15,000 something since we started counting, which was really not that long ago. We're well ahead of our curve for the last time around. So we really think we probably have 25 to 30% more somethings that are there, because I know people are doing like buckets of postcards, and like I delivered a bucket load of signs today and I have to go in yet and put that in. So let's make this representative of everything that our group is doing. Yep, there's the somethings form. If you click on it, it takes you right to the Google Doc, super easy to fill in. There's drop downs, and it automatically will then get counted. And the other thing to check out regularly is Nancy has prepared a wonderful calendar that is color-coded depending on the kind of event that you're interested in. You click on the event, and it will take you directly to whatever link you need. It will link you directly to the sign up and the information on that particular event. So that's really the big thing I want to share in terms of leadership with you all tonight. So please, like, just take 5 minutes a day, go to the website, see what's new up there. I had a conference call yesterday with our area representative, Marcus, for Indivisible National, and he said, my gosh, I looked at your website. I cannot believe everything you guys are involved with. So it does make an impact, and it's pretty cool to stay involved with that. So then the other report that you still get to listen to me, we do have our voter registration team up and running, and they're operating with both us and the League of Women Voters. Pat Buckner is the chair, and she couldn't be on the call tonight, but she sent me her notes, so hopefully I will do them justice. Everybody knows we were going into high schools until we were no longer able to go into high schools. And then the team put together a really remarkable PowerPoint explaining how to register to vote, sent it out to the principals, who were then sharing it with the high school seniors as part of their online learning program. So that was a pretty cool way to get involved. And we're looking at extending that into the fall, offering that to classrooms or to teachers to share prior to the election to try to pick up some more new voters. So that will be more information on that. And their big project right now is this postcard, very well done, tons of information on it. And the League of Women Voters has paid for the printing. There's thousands of them available to be written. And if you're interested in being involved, they are very generic. They are nonpartisan. It's just, we're not asking you who to vote for. We're asking you to get out there and vote. So if that's a message you're comfortable with and want to be involved with, the best way to get postcards, there are apparently 3 or 4 different distribution sites, but I don't have that actual information. I know Pat is one. I believe Denise and Lyle Tyler are one. But Pat said just to get in touch with her, so I will type her email into the chat box when I'm done talking so that you can use that to get in touch with her if you want. Right now, I do not believe they are providing address lists. It's more of an outreach to people you want to send them out to, or if you have a way to generate. They are looking at trying to generate some address lists that will go out to underserved communities like Pontiac and areas like that where we really need to get the vote out. So keep your eyes and ears open, and we'll keep that information coming to you on both the website and through our newsletters. There also will help you set up a postcard writing party if that's something you're interested in doing. You know, it's easy to do a virtual party, put on some music in the background, you all sit around and chat and write your postcards, and it can actually, you know, it can be kind of fun. So I will write it in the chat box. These are awesome cards. I know I'm going to use some of them to reach out to people in my neighborhood. And I think they can be very, very useful and very fun to use. I will pass it to, I think Denise is covering for Connie tonight. Is that right? I think I got a message to that effect.
Campaign's going good. We are always looking for phone bankers. You can visit, here we go. You can visit Vote Forest 44 or at Vote Forest 44 to check out Facebook events for my phone banking, or go to website at voteforest44.org. We have a splendid event tomorrow night. There's still room to sign up, and that is a book talk with Ellen Gellerman Friday evening from 7 to 8:30, and you can sign up for that as an event on my Facebook page. I can put the addresses and stuff in the chat as well. So there's going to be one fabulous door prize with a bunch of items that we shop local for. Ellen is gifting that to some lucky person. There's going to be a quiz though. So that is from 7 to 8:30 Friday, July 10th, virtually. And we have started our Forest for 44th bus tour. Had a Friday bus tour stop up in Highland at Duck Lake Pines Park. The next bus tour, we had to change a date, but it will be July 19th at Central Park from 11 to 11 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. There may be lawn signs there for folks, so we are getting our lawn signs in probably Friday or Monday, and we kind of have a plan to distribute them slowly. So we want some out before the primary, just a few, and along with some banners, and the remainder will go out later in August and then around Labor Day. So that's kind of my update. I know that once again, I'm going to push the phone banking. There'll be no door knocking. So, you know, we are looking to make 3,000 calls by the end of July. So pitch in, help out. That's your little somethings that you can post on Indivisible. So there you go. Thank you. Absolutely. I'm
Sherry
done.
Masson, our remarkable Democracy 2020 chair.
We've got four things that I'm going to report. The first one, I'm numbering them. The first one is, if you live in a neighborhood where people walk by your house all the time, we want to put a sign in your yard that says "Vote from Home." And we have those right now. Liz is in the process of putting them up. Please put your name and your address in the chat box. If you have a lawn in a neighborhood where you know there's a lot of foot traffic and people going by, that's what we're looking for. So put your name and address in the chat box tonight, or the chat box, and we'll get that. Number two, we're continuing to send out these postcards. They're called Vote Michigan. Postcards are targeted very specifically at voters who aren't that interested in voting. They don't vote that often, and they don't really even get voting on their radar until just before Election Day. We're doing this through Indivisible Chicago, and these people, the people have been asking questions about the message that is on them. It's a little bit different than one that we would normally write, but it's been tested and found to be very successful with a particular voting demographic, this demographic. The group sponsoring this project will be comparing the postcards that go to with this message to other messages in their research to even validate more the research that they've done on this demographic of voter. So in Michigan, if we want it to go the way we want it to go, in November, every vote counts, especially these reluctant late voters. Number 3, and I'm going to put in the chat box right now, the where to get these postcards. You pick them up on Tuesdays, and I think I can put it there. Yep, there you go. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 Milford Glen Drive, and they're on Allison's porch from 10 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. So that information is in the chat. August 4th is primary election. Primary elections are very, very important, even if your favorite candidate doesn't have an opponent, because it's critical that we have a presence at the polls in order to create more name recognition for Denise. And if you can donate a few hours of your time on August 4th to sit at a polling place, please put your name in the chat tonight. Say, just put your name and say August 4th or primary or poll sitter, whichever you'd like to put down, and we will get in touch with you. We need to fill those time slots. And if you like the blues and you're so bummed because you can't get to your blues festival this summer, join us on July 27th from 7 to 9 p.m. We're going to listen to some music, mostly blues. We're going to make a few phone calls for Denise, and then we're going to gather together after to share a beer, listen to some more music, enjoy each other's company, and there'll be prizes. So I will put that information when that is. It's going to be at 7 p.m. On July 27th. So mark that on your calendar.
Everybody gets their own beer.
Yeah, bring your own beer.
You don't have to share your beers. If you're putting your name in the box, please put your address as well. That just makes it a little bit easier for us, and I'll add you to the delivery list because I still have more to deliver. You'll just will magically appear on your lawn one day. So in terms of the rest of the team, John has very generously offered to take over our Saturday morning get-togethers. So I would like him to say a couple words about that.
Hey everybody. The Saturday things are a lot less stringent than this. It's more of a get-together discussion about what's going on, potentially recapping what went on in this meeting. Everybody can participate. It's not a meeting per se. It's more of a gathering of people. So if you'd like to join, the link will be in our emails. So don't forget to sign up for those. That's all I got to say.
Well, that's probably the most efficient set of team reports we've ever had. Thank you all very, very much. We did have a few questions that came in ahead of time. Feel free to use the chat box if you think of a question, but these may be things that as a county commissioner candidate, you're already incorporating in your little talk to us, but I'm going to share them with you so you know these were of concern to the membership. The first one was, do you support the county welcoming resolution, which Oakland County Commissioners passed in 2019, which was it was a declaration that the county would welcome immigrants. The second question was, what is your response to the governor's approach to managing coronavirus? How would you manage it differently if you don't agree? And what is your response to the concerns expressed most recently in all of the rallies expressed by the Black community? So those are the three things that have come through so far. We will let Karen start.
Well, thank you for having this forum. I really appreciate it. I know everybody does a lot of work, and I want to thank everybody. I'll just give you some background. I grew up in Dearborn. When I got married, I spent about 30 years in the Philadelphia area. And when my husband was retiring, I said, we're moving back, because I always felt more at home here, and I've always loved Michigan. And so I've always been active in my community. I have run for office before. I have been on a school board. I was appointed to a planning commission, a township planning commission for 9 years in an area that was growing very quickly. And in 2 years, we had doubled the number of homes in the township. When I was on the school board, we were getting 1,000 new pupils a year. So we were building a brand new school a year and remodeling and expanding a school during the summer because we couldn't afford to shut anything down. And we managed to do that. I was on the building committee. I I have negotiated a union contract. It was a very large district. At the time, there were over 17,000 students. It's even bigger now. It was the third largest district in Pennsylvania. So that's a lot of my experience. I was also an assistant borough manager in Pennsylvania. They don't have villages, they have boroughs. So I have that experience of just everything that it takes to run a little borough. And it's been very interesting, and I enjoy that. And, I like policy. But I've always felt that government is very important in everybody's everyday life. It does affect almost everything in your everyday life, and especially local government and local politics. So I think it's really important to pay attention. And I think it's important to elect people that want government to work for everybody, not just a select few. And that when they look at taxes, that funding should reflect the community's values. And that using those tax funds, those public funds, should be for an investment in people and in the area, and not to enrich a few or to do favors for a few. I've always been very conscious of taxes, what it costs people, and are we getting a value for how we're spending that money, and is it serving everybody? So there are a couple of reasons I wanted to run for county commissioner. Again, I wanted to make it work for everybody in this district. I sometimes feel that we're not really being represented very well, and that we're not getting the services that we should get. We do pay taxes. We should be getting something for those taxes in this area. There's a lot of programs that we're not getting involved with that we could. There's federal and state money that is not being applied for that we could have to improve things in this area. For instance, invasive species control, those kinds of programs we could look into and avail ourselves of those funds. They belong to us and we're not getting them. I also think we need to be more transparent and accountable. I really think it's important to listen to everybody and to have a way for people to communicate with you if you're in elected office. If someone writes you an email or a phone call, I really feel it's an obligation to answer that person. Even though you can say, no, I can't do that, or that's not within my purview of this office, at least you've answered and you're accountable. I think it's to be, important to be transparent as what you do. This is why I did it. This is why I voted this way. This is why I'm looking into this. I also think it's important to have someone in there that'll do the work. I know how to do research. I may not know everything, but I know how to find answers. I know how to find people that know the answers. I really believe in relying on experts. I value their education and their experience. And one person can't do everything. And so you ask people who know those areas for their advice and for their help. I know one of the questions was the welcoming resolution. I am second generation Italian American. So all four of my grandparents came from Italy. And I know at the turn of the last century, they faced a lot of obstacles and a lot of prejudice. And I'm always amazed and appalled that people who come from an ethnic background aren't welcoming to immigrants, especially if they know what their ancestors went through. And I think it's what made this country great. Immigrants come here and they really contribute to the economy. They will start small businesses. They will be very invested in their community, and they will help others in their community. So I think it's really important to be very welcoming. If you just look at the history of Detroit, it's all about waves of immigration and how they helped grow the area and how they made this an economic powerhouse. So I wanted to continue to be that kind of place for everybody. And I think it helps us all if we are open and we respect everybody and everybody's rights. Because if you start attacking one group, you're attacking everybody. And I think it helps us all if we protect everybody. So I just want to say that. And it kind of leads into the recent rampant racism and the Black Lives Matter movement. I think it's very important to support that and do whatever we can to be partners in that movement. Because again, if you attack one, There's nothing to stop you from attacking another. And we all have to be respectful of everyone's rights and protect everyone's rights, because it helps protect those of us that think we're safe and secure, because it's a very tenuous slope. And I think it's very important that we help everybody. We need to empower everybody. I don't think it helps anybody to economically depress a group. You're not growing the area. It's a big cost to society to attack one group like this, especially in the criminal justice system. I don't know if anybody's done a study, and I'm sure they have, the cost of this. You're wasting lives. You're putting this financial burden on the state and the county to incarcerate people for basically very minor or no reason. And I just think it's a waste of the court's time. It's a waste of our resources. We could switch that over to programs that really help people. You know, there's a lot of things we could invest in: housing security, you know, good paying jobs, work programs. We have such bad infrastructure that we could be transferring these monies and helping people get decent education, get decent salaries, have decent housing, instead of putting it towards the criminal justice system. So on a couple of things that I wanted to work on, I am on the commission. In this area, our resources are very important, especially water. And we all want to protect our drinking water and our lakes and streams. I know in the Huron River Basin, we've had trouble with PFAS, and we need to clean that up. Excuse me. And, you know, it's preventing pollution, and it's cleaning up what exists and protecting our resources. So I worked on invasive species mitigation, especially with Phragmites. There was state money to help treat that. And I worked with the local township and the county to get our area treated in Commerce Township. I want to continue doing that. I also think we need to work on helping our senior citizens age in place with transportation issues. We don't have a way in this area. Oh, thank you, Liz. I'm sorry. I didn't get my 2-minute warning.
I put it up. You were just busy coughing.
Okay. Sorry. Thanks.
No, finish it.
No, I just wanted to work on transportation because I think it would help people, especially our seniors age in place and young people who can't afford an individual car. But I think we can be creative with it so it kind of works in this area.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen.
Thank
Karen
you.
is always at our meetings. She's a familiar face, and she is one of our blue ribbon candidates. So she definitely has our support. And thank you so much for giving us some more of your time.
Thank you.
So Jeff, are you willing to go next?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. My name's Jeffrey Long. I'm running for Oakland County Commissioner in the 6th District, which is White Lake in the northwest portion of Waterford. There's a couple of reasons why I chose to run. I've served on the Board of Education at Huron Valley Schools for 9 years. I'm also on the ballot for re-election in that. They are compatible offices, so I can serve on both, and they're both part-time. I've enjoyed serving the community I grew up in. I am a graduate of Lakeland High School. I've lived in White Lake Township most of my life, other than the first 7 years that my wife and I were married, where we lived in Waterford. The couple of the primary reasons I decided to run for Oakland County Commission is since the Democrats have taken a majority and David Coulter's got in as executive, the county commission's been able to do some really good things for workers. They've been able to give their workers a $15 an hour minimum wage. They've negotiated some very good contracts for them. Oakland County is actually now one of the top paying municipalities in the state for their employees. So that is good. I'm loosely a part of that. I am currently a business representative and union organizer for Local 58 IBW in Detroit, which is the union electricians that serve Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, Washtenaw, Monroe, Huron, Sanilac, St. Clair, and a portion of Genesee County. I really enjoy giving people the opportunity to become union members and to give themselves a good life and a good career. I also enjoy the fact that IBEW now represents the Oakland County Employees Union. This happened a couple of years ago. We've made a lot of inroads at Oakland County, and I'd really like to help that continue. I also I've grown tired of Eileen Colwall and the Colwall family. My family has known the Colwall family for years growing up in White Lake, and I really think that they no longer represent working people. They've moved away from being blue collar to white collar, party following Republicans, and I find it disappointing. I think they could do better for the community. A couple other things I think the county could do that I'd like to discuss if I'm elected was helping public schools. The county does have the ability to help public schools in a couple of ways. The first would be some support on mental illness programs or counseling programs. The county has a strong mental health department, and I think we all know that public schools really lack in the ability and the funding to help students that have emotional issues. And I think the second one that the county could really help schools across the county with would be security. Security is very much at the forefront of parents' minds as they send kids to school nowadays. Unfortunately, with the epidemic of school shootings we've seen over the last couple of years, the Oakland County Sheriff's Department does a good job of interacting with the community, but I think that considering the amount of funding they have and the amount of manpower, they could be an assistance to all public schools. You know, maybe not providing officers in buildings full time, but making regular visits and making their presence there known to the communities. I think both of those could benefit them. Quick bio, other than just being a union organizer, I've been a union electrician in good standing since 1986. As I mentioned before, I've been on the Huron Valley Schools Board of Education now for 9 years. As a union representative, I've helped negotiate our union contract, the current one we're under, from the employee side. As a school board member, I've helped negotiate contracts from the administrative side. And you can be fair to both sides if you're willing to negotiate in good faith and have frank discussions with people. And we've been able to do that. In Huron Valley Schools, we've resisted some of the efforts by administration in the past to privatize services. We have 13 bargaining groups that are represented by 9 unions. We have no privatized services in Huron Valley. We continue to respect our employees. We negotiate with them in good faith, we collaborate with them, and we have a good relationship because of that. The other thing, other than growing up in White Lake, is I've really grown to love serving not only the students, but now looking to serve the community as a whole. So that's really the reason why I'm running. I do have a primary candidate that I'm running against, Terry Duke from Waterford. I don't know much about her other than she ran against Eileen 2 years ago. She did get 40% of the vote in the general election, so she did well.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really know a lot about her. So as far as the questions that people ask, I absolutely support the welcome policy that Oakland County has. Being a union organizer, I'm all about including everybody and giving everybody opportunities. Our local encourages people of color, minorities, and women to be part of our system. Anybody that's in my local that has the same classification of a journeyman inside wireman that I have gets paid the exact same money and benefits. There is no basis for your pay depending on how many years you served or how long you've had certain certificates or whatever. Everybody is paid equally. So there's no advantages or disadvantages based on your race, creed, or color. Also, as an organizer, I actively am out in the community talking to people, giving them the opportunity to better themselves. As far as Gretchen Whitmer's handling the COVID, I think the evidence is there. Michigan has become the model state on how to handle the COVID virus. You know, a few days ago, we had 0 deaths in the state. That's not something that most states in the country can say, considering where we started as being one of the top 3 states that were infected. I don't understand how people could protest it. I don't understand how people think they're infringing on their rights just by asking them to wear a mask. I've been at work all but 4 weeks during COVID, and I can tell you that we've had no issues where I work. I have 50 to 60 people come in from around the country coming to Detroit to work on a daily basis that I have contact with, and we've had no issues. So if you take the proper precautions like the governor did, you will be fine. The last question about Black Lives Matter, I absolutely support it. I work with people of color, all colors, races, and creeds on a daily basis. Everybody deserves to be respected in the same manner as everybody else. There should be no difference. Everybody should be looked at as if you can't see them, you can only hear them. If you just listen and don't look at their sex or their orientation or their color, that's how you learn to respect them, is just listen to what they have to say and what they have to contribute. So I support all 3 of those questions that were asked wholeheartedly. I would continue to support them. And if I have the opportunity to serve as Oakland County Commissioner, I would certainly be grateful and willing to listen to anybody's opinion. So thank you.
Wow, right on the money, Jeff. Well, I know we have a lot of educators in this group, so a lot of what you said really resonates. I was in special ed and a long time MEA member, so you know that kind of support is important to a lot of us. So thank you so much for your time and for joining us. I hope we'll see you at another meeting sometime.
I hope I have time considering all the other stuff
I get that. Well, you're welcome anytime. So
appreciate it.
How are you doing, Jim?
I say we are here now.
You are here. Yay, Jim. Okay. You're on, dude.
Oh, I'm on. Okay. Well, thank you, Indivisible Huron Valley, for allowing me to share my ideas, why I want to become a commissioner, and get right to it here. I'm a 49-year-long resident of Highland, and for a long time I've been, you might say, a Democrat gopher. But in light of all the increasing concerns we've had and issues around COVID and everything else, I decided today, this year, I would step forward and be a candidate for this District 2. So the first thing I think, again, is the COVID itself, COVID-19 issue. If we want to have business work, we're going to have the testing and contact tracing. I know that we're working on that. Has to be achievable, and that's related, of course, I think, to the health services that the county provides. And so I want to make sure that that's overseen correctly, and that CARE Act funds are used in that regard, or anything else that can help us see through this pandemic. Another thing is, as Jeff and others were mentioning, was the concerns about mental health. There was a drop-in center in Holly for years. A friend of ours, his daughter was able to use that service. That has not existed now for a while. I would like to see if the health department would relate to that in some way, or try to bring that service back, especially once it's safe. I think we need this sort of available service in our communities out this way, especially in Holly. That's an issue, and the thing I would like to see completed. Infrastructure. We don't really have jobs. We're kind of stuck in the ditch right now. But I think while, again, we are, you might say, struggling, is perhaps a time where infrastructure could be addressed more. So I've explored that with the road commission or other types of Oakland County services. See, again, if we can direct resources that way and use this as an opportunity to address those issues that sometimes were put off in the past. After the COVID issue, I would say the climate crisis is our greatest existential threat that we face. I just want to mention that my kids in many respects are heroes to me because they are doing a large part to try to address this problem. One family actually has geothermal and solar and electric cars, and they're practically off the grid. They're not multimillionaires. So I give them a lot of credit for really bringing this along or making it an important thing for them. And I think in relation to this issue, I would like to see that Oakland County possibly become carbon neutral by 2030. This is a Sierra Club goal. I've talked to Jim Nash, the Water Resources Commissioner. He thinks it's doable. He's making some really good efforts. And so I think that this is something that's very important. I would be voting on any issue that would bring that along. And I would try to come up with proposals that will create that so that Oakland County can set a standard for other counties, municipalities, and entities that need to also address that problem. If we don't have a planet, then where are we going? So we have to bring this and push it further. By the way, I've been a past member of the union, UAW, when I was a state caseworker. And again, in regards to projects and services, I would certainly, as a member, try to ensure that union representatives and work is part of those projects at all times. In another small matter, I have an idea for garden expansion, especially during the time we're in, where it's hard to do things indoors. And I would like to see this possibly explored as a program for young people, especially a summer program, and possibly pay them in some small way. So the garden expansion idea would be to see if we can develop those type of services in Holly or Highland. I'd like to explore that. There's also a possibility that community development block grants or MOT, which I guess has a foundation in the Holly area, might be a source of some grant for that type of program or other programs. So I'd like to explore those possibilities of getting grants that way. And also, of course, we need to expand broadband, I think, again, services in the greater county area, especially with all the online school services that have been provided more recently and needed. And again, I want to also address an issue of transportation services. I understand that that needs to be improved upon or expanded upon in the Highland area. I would explore that with other areas in District 2 also. I want to again thank you guys for allowing me to share some of those ideas that I would like to explore. And if I have a chance to become commissioner, these are things that would be important to me. You can review my biography and mission statement at the website, which is electjimwilliams.com. And again, I would work with all the commissioners, of course, for any of these goals I have. Make an effort to join with everybody that's of goodwill to make that work. And I just wanted to say, by the way, on those last questions that Jeff had addressed, he spoke for me because I really concur exactly with what he said in regards to the governor's efforts. And so I just want to leave it at that. I on that matter. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Again, early. My gosh, you guys, you almost be terrified of me. Such a scary person. Jim is also, you know, a pretty active member in our group, is always willing to step up, always willing to do whatever needs to be done. He's an amazing artist, which he failed to to mention, and he always is willing to donate some of his artwork to fundraisers. If you haven't seen his stuff, check it out, especially if you grew up in the Metro Detroit area. It will really speak to you. So thank you, Jim. And he's also a blue ribbon candidate along with
Thank
Karen.
you.
So very good. Thank you so much. Is there anybody who has we have a few minutes before Mr. Coulter is scheduled to speak. Does anybody have a question? Nothing really came through in the chat that they would like to ask of one of the three candidates that are here. Just weigh in, I say. Okay. You must have been very comprehensive in your explanations, people. So is Mr. Coulter on the call?
I am here.
Awesome. Okay. There, you didn't look like you. I'm sorry. The first face that came up was definitely not you. It had long hair and a big beard.
Oh my.
Like, wait, that's not him. I can hear his voice. It's not his face. So Dave doesn't really need a lot of introduction. He's been leading our county for a while now through a very difficult time. So I think we're kind of a little familiar with you, but we've never had a chance to meet you as a group. And I think it's been a difficult time, and it's been wonderful to have strong people step up and take over leadership. So we're real anxious to hear from you and what your plans are going forward. So you have the next half hour to enlighten us. We do have a few questions that came in, but mostly we want to hear from you.
Well, thank you. I'm just honored to be with you all. I wish it could be in person. You're right. I just came from another event, which is the first one I've done in person since COVID started. Lathrop Village decided that they wanted to get together in person. We were all socially distanced. We all had our masks on. So it was all really good. But it was fun to be in person with people. And I'm sorry that we can't meet in person tonight. I know that we had something, we tried to get this scheduled before, and COVID got everything all messed up. So I'm glad that we at least had an opportunity to do it this way. Elizabeth, I so appreciate you inviting me. And I see Laura Dodd on the line. She works for Oakland County, and she does a great job. And I know she's been very active in this club, and I so appreciate her expertise and guidance. Not so much on the political side. She works on the county side, but she just does an awesome job for all the residents of Oakland County, and I'm proud that she's part of our group. So thank you. Yeah, so I'm Dave Coulter, and I've been in this role for almost a year now. Whew. And what a year it's been. So I'll talk a little bit about that. For those of you who really don't know much about me, I'll just very briefly tell you, I was an Oakland County Commissioner for 4 terms, 8 years. For most of that time, I was the Democratic leader. So it was my job to negotiate with, fight with, kick Brooks Patterson where I could. But I was on the minority the whole time. So we didn't get nearly as many good progressive policies passed as I would have liked to on the county commission. So I hope, I know there's some county commission people, candidates on this. I hope and pray that we keep the majority and we keep Oakland County moving in a progressive direction. When I left the county commission, for the last 9 years, I had the privilege of being the mayor of Ferndale. And I really thought that would be the best job I ever had in politics. I loved being the mayor. And by the way, mayor is a part-time job. So I also worked at the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. I have a passion for public health and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to keep our residents healthy and well. And so that was my last 9 years. And then I was chosen to replace Brooks Patterson when he died of pancreatic cancer last year. So here I am, and we've been, what a whirlwind it's been. But mostly what I want to tell you is I'm so delighted to see Oakland County moving in a progressive direction that many of us, including many of you on this call, have been fighting for a long time. The policies that we care about, the things that we value, we are now have the opportunity to implement. And I pinch myself every day that I get to be the guy who went from being in the minority for 8 years fighting Brooks Patterson to be the guy sitting in his old desk, moving this county into the 21st century. And it was so long overdue, in my opinion, and I think you'll share that with me. So let me just talk a little bit about, I tend to break up this past year as pre-COVID and post-COVID. Maybe some of your lives feel like that as well, right? So I want to share with you just some of the things that we were working on before the pandemic hit. Not that we don't continue to work on them, and then we'll talk a little bit about, how Democrats and how progressive people lead through a virus. So before this all happened, one of the first things we did, well, let me tell you some of the things that we immediately did that I'm very proud of. I hired the most diverse leadership team in Oakland County history, including the first and second females ever to serve as a deputy executive in Oakland County. I also hired the first African-American, a great guy by the name of Rudy Hobbs, as the first African-American to ever serve in that role. And then the fourth guy I like to tease, because some of you may know Sean Carlson. He serves on the school board in your neck of the woods, and he's a great guy. And I keep saying, Sean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to minimize the great role that you play at the county, but you're not a woman, you're not a minority, you're a straight guy, just like Brooks Patterson always appointed. But that's okay, because we need them too. And Sean is awesome. And Sean oversees for me our economic development efforts and our IT department and our management and budget. So Sean has some real heavy duty responsibilities at the county. And I couldn't be more proud of the job that Sean and the entire team has done. And then most recently, we hired a brand new position in Oakland County. I think we're the first county in Michigan to hire this position, and that is Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. I want to make sure, and this was long before the George Floyd incident captured all of our attention, but I knew even then that we have to make sure that all of our practices, all of the policies that we have, all the programs that I come up with, that we're making sure that we're looking at them through the lens of, is it fair? Is it equitable? Does it treat everybody equally and provide a level playing field for everyone? So we just hired a young, wonderful woman who's going to be our first ever Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, and I couldn't be more proud of that. We also passed the county's first ever comprehensive non-discrimination policy. Can you imagine? The Oakland County never had a non-discrimination policy. I fought for it when I was on the county commission. We have one now because I'm sitting here and our board of commissioners is now a majority of Democrats who believe in fairness for everybody. So I'm proud that we now have that. And that covers not only just our employees, but our contractors, our vendors, all have to demonstrate that they meet non-discrimination policies for Oakland County. Very, very proud that I get to be the person that signed that bill. We passed a $15 minimum wage for everyone who works at Oakland County. And there were hundreds of people that worked at our county that working full-time, trying to raise themselves and their families on less than $15 an hour. So we took care of that. I told you I have a passion and a background in healthcare and making sure that everyone has access to health and wellness services. And so one of the programs that we launched at the end of last year that I'm very excited about is something called Oakland Health 360. We operate 2 health clinics in Oakland County. And you know, they were the place that you could go if you needed a vaccination, a TB shot, or maybe your standard public health stuff. But they weren't comprehensive. You couldn't get most things there. And we said, what if we could transform those clinics to be accessible places for a wide range of health services? That's why we call it 360, all sorts of wraparound services. So we created Oakland Health 360, and here's the deal. When it's fully implemented, we've reserved $4 million to fully fund and implement this program. And when it's fully implemented, you'll be able to go to our health clinics, anybody in the county, regardless of your income, you'll be able to go to our clinic and get primary health care. You'll be able to get mental and behavioral health services, which is so important these days. You'll be able to get women's health services, which have not been offered at the county in the past. You'll be able to get young children's dental health services. So we're going to make this a wraparound clinic where you can get all of your needs met, regardless of who you are or how much money you make. Pardon me just a minute to take a sip there. So very proud of that. I'm a big transit advocate, if you don't know that already. I believe that Southeast Michigan needs transit. We need it for our elderly and our disabled, of course, but we also need it for our employees to get to work and our employers to get their employees to work. We need it, in my opinion, to keep our young people here in Oakland County and in Michigan. How many of you have kids or grandkids that, you know, we put them through school, we pay for all of that, and then they move to Chicago or LA or someplace that has the things that they're looking for today. And one of those things, it's not the only thing, but one of the things they're looking for is to get rid of their car so that they can ride public transportation. I believe that we need to give our young people and give all of our residents access to good public transportation, and I'm committed to getting that done. I ran on that issue in 2002 when I first ran for county commission. I can't believe we're still fighting that battle today, but we're going to get it done. And then the other thing I want to talk about briefly is climate change. When I was mayor of Ferndale and Donald Trump took America out of the Paris Agreement on climate change, I was appalled. And I joined a group of mayors across the country called Climate Change Mayors. And we had the idea, which I think is a good one, that regardless of what Donald Trump does in Washington, if all the mayors get together and agree to abide by these climate change policies, we could still do the same thing. We'll do it without the president. We'll just do it ourselves. And so Ferndale was very aggressive about addressing climate change, and I'm very passionate about it. We hired a climate planner in Ferndale to help us establish real measurable goals to reduce our carbon footprint and preserve the environment for our children and our grandchildren. You know, if we don't get climate change right, all the rest of this isn't going to matter in a very short amount of time. So I'm committed to making Oakland County a leader in using the use of renewable energy, reducing our carbon footprint, and preserving the environment for future generations. I'm just committed to that. So all of those good things were happening. And then the final good piece of news that we got, one of the things that Brooks Patterson always criticized Democrats for and progressive people for is he said, you know, they're going to ruin the budget. They're going to screw up the budget. We're going to lose our AAA bond rating. They're going to blow up the budget and all of that garbage. Well, I served on the county commission. I understand what it takes to pass a 3-year balanced budget, which is what Oakland County does, and a budget that is sound, fiscally sound. And so after we passed the budget and after we initiated our programs, we went to Wall Street because we had to get some bonds rated. And we asked them, here's what we're doing. Here's our budget. Here's what us Democrats are thinking about for Oakland County. Rate our bonds. And I'm proud to tell you that the two main rating agencies rated Oakland County fiscally AAA bond rating, just like Brooks had done. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can be a progressive, you can move this county in a progressive direction, and you can still do a good job of keeping your close eye on the taxpayer dollars and being fiscally responsible. And I think that's what we demonstrated that we could do. And I am very committed to that as well, because it's all of our tax dollars and we have to make sure that we're spending them wisely. And so that AAA is an external validation that we're still operating under excellent budgeting principles in Oakland County. So then COVID, I don't know how much we want to get into this. We can certainly take questions on it, but let me just tell you, broadly speaking, I did something that I don't think the President of the United States did at all, and that is we relied on the science. Oakland County has an incredible, talented, professional public health department. We have 4 epidemiologists on our staff. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, and you don't have to admit this, but I'm going to admit it. Back in January, I'm not sure I could have accurately defined the role of an epidemiologist. Yeah, they do something with diseases. I don't know. Well, let me just tell you, I know what they do now because I've worked side by side with them now for 4.5 months. And I respect these people so much, and our public health professionals so much. We leaned in on the science. We're following the science. I happen to be a supporter of what the governor has done at the statewide level. I know she's taken a lot of guff for it, but I think that the governor has made difficult but really necessary decisions and orders to keep us safe. And we did the same thing in Oakland County. We were the first county to shut down shopping malls and shopping centers. We were the first county to make sure that our essential businesses that got to stay open had to do so by providing masks, doing health screenings of their employees, and social distancing. We leaned in and said, if you're gonna work in Oakland County, you got to do it right. We have to take these numbers seriously. And as a result of that, as a result of taking that posture, we did just exactly what we hoped we could do. We brought our numbers down. We are in so much better place today in Oakland County than we were just a couple of months ago. And now we're seeing across the country, those people who did not want to shut down, those people who did not take this seriously enough, 42 states in this country are seeing an increase in COVID cases. Ours are steady in Oakland County because we did the right thing early on. And we're going to reopen, but we're going to do it carefully, and we're going to let the science guide us. And so I think that's a huge difference between what you saw in Washington and what you saw in Oakland County and the state of Michigan. I'm proud of the way our health people have helped me lead through this pandemic. And of course, as we all know, the coronavirus is not just a health crisis right now, it's an economic one. And so we've really leaned in on this, and this is where Laura knows, can speak to it as well as I can, but we made sure that our small businesses, that our nonprofit organizations had the financial support that they needed to keep their doors open until we could get through this virus. We gave them grants, not loans, grants, so that they could continue to pay their employees, they could continue to pay their rent. But we took care of everybody. This was part of our strategy. My desire was that nobody gets left behind. And so just one example of that, but one I'm really proud of, is what we call our Food to Shelter program. We have homeless people in Oakland County. Brooks Patterson and the Republicans didn't like to talk about it. They didn't like to talk about anybody who wasn't a business person who was highly successful and they could brag about. But the reality is, this is a very diverse county with lots of different people. We have people of color, immigrants, people of all income levels, and yes, homeless people. And we wanted to make sure that they were protected. So we made sure they had a place to go that was safe, that they could socially distance. We were supporting the organizations that were supporting them. But then one of the things we found out was they got a lot of their meals from churches. A lot of the smaller churches would offer meals to the homeless shelters and the like. And they were closed down. They weren't doing that work anymore. So we created the Food to Shelter program so that we connected our shelters with our restaurants who were also struggling to make sure that that population got balanced meals every single day. That's what I mean by leaving nobody behind and making sure that everybody is lifted. One of the things that we learned early on in this epidemic was that people of color were being disproportionately affected. We started to see this in the data. We weren't even exactly sure what it meant yet, but I knew that we had to get this data out there. And we were the first county in Michigan to report our COVID data by race, by zip code, by race. I wanted everyone in Oakland County to have the same data that I had so that we could, because my belief is that if you give people all the information and help them make good choices, they'll make better choices. And I think as a result of our efforts, you haven't seen a lot of the shenanigans and goofiness of these people who are politicizing the virus. I'm not saying people don't do that in Oakland County, but not like you've seen in some other parts of the state. And I think it's because we've developed a trust with our residents that we're going to tell you the truth. We're going to get you to testing. We're going to make sure you have the resources that you need. We're going to open up the drive-through testing. We're going to get our folks out there. We're going to look after our seniors. We're going to look after our vulnerable populations. And it built a trust that I think is part of the result of why we've seen our numbers go down, because the vast majority of people in Oakland County are doing the right thing and taking it seriously, even though the media likes to focus on the business here or there that does not. The last thing I would say about COVID, though, is it is still a major issue. We haven't defeated it. We haven't cured it. We can't even treat it, really. And so we have to continue to take it seriously. I'm very worried that people are letting their guard down. I'm very worried about what's going to happen in the fall when we try to reopen our schools, and we don't know how to do that, and we don't know where the numbers will be this fall. I'm very concerned about that. Let me tell you one of the things we've done to help our schools in Oakland County. You know, the schools don't report to me directly, so I don't oversee them, but I've been meeting with the leaders of our schools, and one of the things I heard was, look, our principals and our school superintendents, they're not trained public health people. They're not experts in this. We need help figuring out what our schools are going to look like, how we're going to do this. What does it mean to be on a bus around other children? How do we literally do this? So 2 weeks ago, I announced that Oakland County was going to hire 6 public health nurses. And these nurses are going to work full-time directly with our school districts to help them create reopening plans that make sense for them to keep our kids as safe as we possibly can. It won't be perfect. This is going to be a very challenging thing to do. But at least giving our principals and our superintendents some help and some guidance, I think is one way that I, as the county executive, and working, of course, with our Board of Commissioners, who has to approve all this stuff, can help support our local schools. But I'm worried that if the numbers go up and we're not in the same place we are in the fall as we are now, that won't be enough. So very worried that people continue to take this very, very seriously. We all must do that. So with that, I mean, there's a lot more that we could talk about. Well, maybe let me talk about one more thing. On top of the pandemic, as we're all well aware, we have racial demonstrations throughout our county and throughout our country. And our moment is now. I knew before George Floyd that we had to address this, which is why I wanted to hire, with the help of the board and their encouragement, a Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. But we have got to say as a people that Black Lives Matter, and specifically in our criminal justice system, we must root out the biases that have worked against people for too long. Now, once again, the Sheriff's Department doesn't report directly to me, and I see Barnett Jones on this call. It's always good to see you, sir. I know you're working hard, and he can talk about this even more eloquently and maybe more directly as it affects the criminal justice system, because he's been in that his whole life. But I will be a partner with the sheriff and the prosecutor to make sure that we're doing everything that we can as a county to take the biases out of our systems. And it's not just criminal justice. We see these biases show up in our health system with these disparities that I talked about. We see it in our education system. Some kids have access to all the latest technology and some have none. It's not fair. And obviously we see it in our economic system as well. So I just want you to know that I've marched with these folks. I'm really proud of the fact that, and this was just symbolic, but symbolism can sometimes be very powerful. When we heard that there was going to be a protest march on our county campus, the sheriff's office reached out to me and said, what should we do? You know, and how should we, you know, what are you thinking? And I said, well, here's the first thing I would like you to do. The electronic signs that we have around the county campus, I want you to change those. I want them to say Black Lives Matters. I want the demonstrators that come to our county campus to know that we understand, that we hear them, that we respect them, and we're going to take their message seriously. And that's what we did. Could you imagine Brooks Patterson doing that? I mean, I don't want to pick on Brooks Patterson, but can you imagine? It makes a difference who serves in these offices. And we are making a huge difference in Oakland County today, pushing this county into a direction that is, I keep using the word progressive, but it just means we're compassionate. We care about each other. We're going to make sure that no one gets left behind. We're going to treat everyone with dignity. And that's the Oakland County that I envision. That's the Oakland County that I've tried to represent for the past year on all of our behalf. And I'm going to try to keep doing it for 4 more years. I have to be honest. Now, there's a campaign going on, and I know Barnett understands this, and I know some of the other candidates I see on the call understand this. Man, there is no playbook for running a campaign during a pandemic. You do what you can. You do Zoom meetings, you do phone calls, you do whatever you can do to get your message out to people. That's what I'm trying to do. That's why I'm so appreciative that you've given me the opportunity to come and let you meet me and kick the tires a little bit tonight. I look forward to the day that we can do this in person. I truly do. I'm a people person by nature, and this is not in my nature to do everything online, but there we are. So I am on the ballot for August 4th. I would love your support. And with that, I would tell you, if it's okay with you, Elizabeth, maybe we have time for some questions. I'd love to just hear what's on your mind and field your questions as well.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah, ask people to type in the chat, but I did get one question ahead of time that and nobody has, but maybe they can start now. But we did get a question ahead of time. You sort of spoke to it. I'm just going to read it and see if you want to elaborate. It has to do with the policing. You know, just what new efforts will your office create to assure that the residents of Oakland County, that the Sheriff's Department's interactions are just, humane, and reasonable?
Thank you for that question, because it's really important, and I want to be respectful. I know my lane, and I'm not running for sheriff. The sheriff doesn't report to me. The sheriff reports to you, the voters of Oakland County. So you have to hold the sheriff responsible. But I'm going to be a partner with the sheriff. And let me just tell you a little bit about what we did in Ferndale, because, you know, Ferndale is not as progressive as we like to think we are in Ferndale. We're not immune to these issues as well. So I think that every police department should be thinking about adopting what's known as community policing guidelines, getting out of this warrior mentality. You know, a lot of cops come out of the military and they come with a military mentality, but this is a civilian job. You're not a warrior. You're a community member that's paid to keep the, you know, to protect the community, not to militarize it, right? So no, you know, all of these military vehicles and stuff, not appropriate in county government, in my opinion. Adopting community policing guidelines. One of those guidelines, by the way, is body cams on police officers. I support that. Ferndale was the first city in Oakland County to buy body cams for its police department because we value that. We know that that's one way that we can identify what really happened in that, you know, interaction. Because a lot of times it's just your word against the police officer's word, and the history has been the police officer's word is trusted and the victim's word is not. And sometimes that's exactly how it, you know, the police officer was absolutely right. What they described is exactly what happened. Sometimes it's not. So body cams, for instance, is another way. The other thing that I believe in strongly and that we adopted in Ferndale is a policy of zero tolerance for police abuse. You have to get rid of the bad actors. I was mayor for almost 9 years. We had 2 instances where our officers were found to have used excessive force. Neither one of those officers ever worked another day for the Ferndale PD. You have to put down a marker and say, this will not be tolerated. This is a violation of the public trust. And so you can do this. These things are not unique to Ferndale. Any community can demand this of their police department, and we can demand this of our sheriff's department as well. And I think that's what we need to be doing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
One other question came through, just asking if you could expand a little bit on your healthcare background.
Oh, yeah. So let me just say, I have no medical training, okay? I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse.
Play one on television, right? Oh, no, sorry.
I don't even play one on television. Here's my experience. I have worked for 2 organizations that are health organizations. I used to be the CEO of a nonprofit organization called the Michigan AIDS Fund. And our mission was to keep people safe from HIV, right? So we raised money and supported HIV prevention programming. So that was another epidemic that this country went through. And so I understand it very well. And then, as I said, for the past 7 years, I worked at the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. So again, I've learned enough to be dangerous, I suppose. You don't want me to give you health advice, but I developed a passion for keeping our communities safe. The health and wellness of our citizens is one of the most, was one of my top responsibilities. You know, when I took this job, they said, you know, Dave, the health department reports to you. I had no idea a pandemic was coming, but just so you know, that background helped me understand the enormous responsibility that the county has, because local cities don't have their own health departments. The entire county every city in the county uses Oakland County's health department for those services. And since those report to me, I take that very, very seriously. And so that's my health background. Don't ask me to explain the diseases. I know enough to ask the experts, I'll tell you that.
Okay, so one last question. This came in around healthcare. The question was, how does your healthcare plan differ than Andy Meisner's healthcare plan?
I'm not an expert on Andy's plan. I've read it. I don't understand all the details. But I think, you know, Andy and I do share a view that we need to expand access to our residents. We need to get more people access to good quality care. I don't know all the specifics of his plan because I was working with our health department as well as some of our partners in the county on our plan. But one of the keys to my plan is our plan in Oakland County, which has now been adopted, so this is in the works, is that we're going to partner. We're not going to do this alone. There's a group called Community Honor Health, and they are the largest federally qualified health center in Oakland County. And so they're going to join us in our clinics to provide these services. We're going to contract with nonprofit health providers in the mental and behavioral space as well. So my plan is about partnerships, not us just taking on and hiring a bunch of people to do this, but actually leveraging the expertise that exists in the county. And it starts at the 2 health clinics that we have now. Now, I could foresee a future where we add clinics to this and we expand that. But for now, because the price tag for this was $4 million, we decided that we would start in our 2 existing clinics and see how this goes. And so I hope that answers your question.
Hopefully it did. And somebody's putting in the chat box apparently an article and some information that compares the 2 plans. So hopefully somebody can access that and get more information.
Great.
But thank you. This has been very informative. I don't know how you all do all this. It's got to be a wicked long day, but we really appreciate you giving us your time tonight, and hopefully see your face at something else again in the future.
I appreciate it. Thanks again. Thank you so much for letting me join you tonight. I know you've had a long meeting as well, so thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Well, thank you. I'm going to throw it out there. Some of us have seen Barnett Jones on some of the forums. If you're here and would like to unmute and speak and introduce yourself, that'd be awesome.
Thank you for the opportunity, Indivisible Huron Valley. My name is Barnett Jones, and I'm running for sheriff. I've been in law enforcement over 40 years. 19 of those years were with Oakland County Sheriff's Department. I worked every division. I was trained by John F. Nichols to hopefully one day run the place. That didn't happen. I left her and went to Sterling Heights as the chief of police. I was there for 6 years. I left Sterling Heights. I went to Ann Arbor. I was there for nearly 6 years. I went to help the emergency manager in Flint, and now I am the chief security integrity officer for what was DWSD, which is now Great Lakes Water Authority, protecting your water. I am the best qualified person to walk in day one and run the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. My background, I have 4 degrees, an associate's, a bachelor's, and 2 masters. The last one is in education. I was on the school board. I love education. I thought I was going to wind up there, but I had one more thing to do. And that one more thing that I had to do was try to be the sheriff and go back home, because I am a law enforcement officer, not a politician. I will observe all the rules that the governor puts in her order, because that's what you're supposed to do. When you raise your right hand, you swear an oath. That's what me and my deputies will do. And I have an idea about a citizens review and advisory committee that will take community policing, we now call it community engagement, to a new level. I will have citizen input alongside me with my command officers and their unions, because you have to do that. And we're going to be talking about how to engage each community we patrol in. And then I've divided the county into quadrants, so there'll be a representative from the non-contracted areas, so that we can get together on the same page. We have to get the police away from the warrior role back to the guardian role. And we have to remember how that started. We picked up all the roles of the military after 9/11. We did that as law enforcement officers. I went to bomb school, suicide bomb school. I went overseas. I did everything, and my officers did everything. Most of those officers that are the little baby cops, I call them now, the young baby cops, have inherited that role. They don't know the guardian role that we used to have, turning out your lights, assisting you, stopping you for speeding, giving you a warning instead of giving you a $200 ticket. We have to get them back to that role. I'm the perfect person for that. My leadership, my ability, my education, my training, and my ability to communicate. COVID-19 is still here. We have got to make sure that we tackle that. We got to make sure that what I inherit when I win day one, walking in there in January, what have we done with COVID-19?
Well, thank you. Good introduction. I'm going to have to invite all the other sheriff candidates if I let you go on forever, Barnett.
Okay.
You're going to get me in trouble now.
My website will be there. You can call me. You can answer any questions. I'm the right person for the job day one.
Thank you. We do appreciate your energy. I really, really do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We do also have Julia Pulver on the call, and she is one of our Blue Ribbon candidates. She is we have adopted her to support her campaign as an organization. So I think Julia has a phone bank she'd like to plug here.
Yeah, so I'm not going to take up any time other than to just ask for your help on Sunday. I put in here a link. We're going to be doing a phone bank with Southpaw, Michigan using an auto dialer. So I don't know if anyone's used that in the past, but what you do essentially is everyone gets in, it makes phone calls automatically, it filters out any of the bounced or bad ones. So you just talk to people. We have a chance to get through about 9,000 voters on Sunday. And the more people we have in, the faster it goes. So we're really hoping to get people to sign up to use this. It's a really neat tool to talk to a lot of voters in a short amount of time. So please use that link, and we'll do a really big, great, awesome phone bank on Sunday. So thank you so much.
Did you submit that to our Facebook page so we can put it up there too, Julia?
I put a link in the chat, but I'll put it on the Facebook page too.
Yeah, because we'll approve that right away so people get it, because we get a lot of the people sign up, through that. So that would be awesome. Perfect.
Awesome. Yep, and it's great. Yeah, the more people you get in, the faster it goes, and we could get through all 9,000 calls in an hour if we get enough people signed up.
That's great. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to just say that these evenings, Barnett, thank you so much for representing a different aspect of, people sort of forget everything we're voting for in these elections. But, we have everybody on this call, from people who are running for precinct delegate to county commissioner. And these are people that impact our everyday life. It's important who becomes president. I'm not saying it isn't. But the down ballot is so important to what we do every single day, and having you show up and support and represent, and just to have so much positive energy. I don't know about anybody else, but in 2016, it was the most discouraging time because everybody said, oh my God, the pool is so shallow. We're never gonna, the progressives are never swimming to the other side. And yet we look at these ballots and we have so many strong candidates out there. It's wonderful to have so many good choices out there. So this just does my heart good to have a meeting like this. So to close out, I want to share what we're going to do next month. Maybe you candidates want to even show up there or be after the primary. So maybe we'll be doing a different kind of thing. Our meeting will be, let me check so I don't tell you the wrong date. That would be really bad if I did that. It'll be August 12th, and we've reserved the pavilion in Central Park, which is if you're not familiar with Milford, right downtown Milford, right on the river, right across from the brewery. That does do carry out. So should you want to do that as part of the event, you're more than welcome. It's just going to be a massive postcard party. We've reserved it for a longer period of time, 4:30 to 9. Show up with your family, have dinner. We're going to, still be observing social distancing. We'll still be having our masks available, but we're going to have tunes. It's a beautiful spot. Like I say, it's right on the river. And we think that it's time to have a little bit of a social time, some meet and greet. We have amazing postcard writers. We always love to write our postcards. So I think it'll be a fun time. And I think we all deserve a little break in these times. So we'll have survived the primary at that point and be moving forward. But I think it'll be a good time. So watch for the notices. It'll be on the website. in both of John's newsletters and on the Facebook page. So if you're not on those different conduits to get to us, let us know and we'll be sure we hook you up. So unless there's some other questions or somebody else who's a candidate that I missed and would like to represent and say hi, we're going to close it out. Okie doke. Thank you all for coming.